Well, oh my goodness, beautiful people, here we are, and we are here to talk about emotional intelligence. So let's talk about what is emotional intelligence. The first thing is emotional intelligence is the ability to navigate not only your own emotions, but to navigate the emotions of other people. It's also about being consciously aware of how your emotions and your reactions affect other people. It really comes down to an awareness of self. Because emotional intelligence really ties in with our own triggers in life, it's really important to cover the topics that come up quite a bit in the interactions and the everyday things that we go through. And so what I've done here is I've taken some experiences that are kind of common, that happen a lot in communication and just in relationships, whether they're personal or business or what have you, but just really understanding that we are going to have a better life if we are able to emotionally navigate and analyze ourselves and the surroundings around us, and really open up and unpack some specific topics that happen to come up often in life when we're dealing with other people. One of those things that we end up dealing with is, because we email and we communicate through different mediums now, just not in person with people, it really stirs up a lot of different things that can happen. And people also behave differently because they feel like they have more freedom and autonomy and authority to say things to you that they would never say to your face. And so this creates issues, because even through email and text, it could trigger our emotional responses. And if we don't know ourselves emotionally enough in a certain area to even be aware of our triggers, this is going to cause all kinds of conflict. So what I'm doing in this class is I'm touching on some really important things that a lot of us, or maybe all of us, go through. And one of them has to do with really being able to identify and have this emotional intelligence of not only learning how to identify people who try and manipulate and control us and compete with us, and doing it through these guises of smiling in your face. Trolls do certain things, and because we don't know them, you think, oh, I'm not going to have a reaction to that, but people do have reactions to that until they learn to understand what's really going on. And when you get really good at this, you can see it coming a mile away and you have no emotional response to it, because you just itemize all the things they're doing and you see right through it. This is what this class is going to do, is unpack some situations like that about people who are toxic, people who emotionally manipulate you, people who are creating conflict, people who are being fake, right? And how do you know that they're doing this? And not only that, but then because you understand that, you're not being triggered by it, right? Understanding yourself. Also, people who may come in the guise of smiling at you, but what they're really doing is competing with you. And how do you know that they're doing this? Again, when you learn all of these things, you are less likely to have a reaction to something. And I always tell people, don't react, respond. When you respond, that requires an emotional intelligence, because you've done some analytical work on yourself and you're just not that easy of a mark anymore. One of the other things that we deal with is suffering. Now, there's all different types of suffering that goes on in our life. Us suffering and the people around us suffering. And so I'm going to cover a few things that are really common that people experience, so that you're not taking responsibility for things that you shouldn't be taking responsibility for. And also just to really understand intelligently the unpacking of suffering and why it happens. We unpack the two choices that you have in regards to suffering. We are going to unpack and cover suffering from addiction, suffering from abuse. You're going to talk about something that I call reciprocal suffering. Let me say that again, reciprocal suffering. Surroundings that we put ourselves in, or that we find ourselves in, and what to do about this. Now, all of this is to unpack all the differences between the types of suffering, so that you can make an emotionally intelligent choice and response when you're hit with any of these situations. And then to understand that once you make a choice, and maybe it's a choice you made in the past, or maybe it's a choice you're making now, or it's just something analytically to look at, and you can say, wow, I didn't realize that there were these choices that I had to make, these decisions that were going to affect the outcome. And maybe I didn't realize that by doing these certain things, I was causing more suffering for myself or maybe for other people. So this is a good way for you to kind of get analytical with certain topics that come up a lot in life, so that you are not reacting to things, but that you are responding. And that's when you know that you're really in an emotionally good place, when you are responding and you are not a slave to all your triggers. When you react to things, you're giving away all of your power. And of course, I want you to hold on to all your power. So in a nutshell, an emotionally intelligent person is just going to have a much more peaceful and harmonious life. And that's just a fact. And why is that? Because you own your power when you've done this awakening work on yourself, when you've unpacked all these details that maybe you never really thought of, because people just operate on their default system and their triggers and their reactions of their emotions. When you slow all that down and you say, hey, let me look at these things individually and unpack them, you start to see right through them. And that makes you more emotionally intelligent to respond to things. And when you respond to things, you are acting out of a personal place of power, because it's you that are deciding. You are not reacting to things from unresolved emotions or triggers. And at the end of the day, that's what we want, right? So if any of this makes any sense to you, and this is something that you're excited to learn more about, and I guarantee you that my classes are kind of interesting and fun, and you know, I might even break out into song and sing and stuff. I tell a lot of stories in my classes because I think that you learn the most from storytelling. I teach in the shaman's way, which is all about telling stories and giving you practical application that way, so that you can implement it into your own life. So if all of this sounds good to you, then the next thing that you need to do is just add that to your cart, and I will see you in class. Go on now, drop it in the cart. See you later.